Hello, everyone. This next panel asks a wild and very real question. What happens to identity when AI and XR let us totally rewrite it? From avatars to deep fakes, hello. The lines between real and virtual selves are seriously shifting. We have got three brilliant minds here to break that down. We have KELSEY FARISH, media lawyer and expert in publicity, reputation, and technology. We have MUKI KULHAN, creative technologist bringing XR into the mainstream. And our moderator, Rob Morgan, who's an immersive storyteller and creative director at Playlines. So please welcome them to the stage and enjoy.
All right. Can everybody hear me okay? Yeah, pretty good. Okay, good, excellent. Hello. Thank you for coming. We have a beautiful South by Southwest audience, so I wanted to start with a question. How many people have used augmented reality? Yes, Pokemon Go counts. Yeah, okay, excellent. We're in the right crowd. How many people have used a TikTok filter? Yeah, and how many people have had a TikTok filter used on them?
One person.
See much less certainty in the audience because you're probably thinking that you're actually not sure. It's difficult to tell. When we're seeing things through technology, we tend to feel like we're in control. But when we're being seen through technology, we tend to lose a bit of that control. So I've worked in augmented reality for like 13 years, and it, especially now, powered by AI, it promises us the ability to customize what version of reality we want to see. Great, and it is, if I may say, so fucking exciting. But what about the people who are being seen through this technology? Because the most vulnerable people in our society already tend to have relatively little control over how they're seen by other people. That's what we want to talk about today, because very soon, if you're looking at my body through augmented reality technology, you might be able to customize how I look to suit your desires or maybe your prejudices or predilections. And it's a scary business, especially even if it's only happening in the privacy of your devices. I was nervous before this panel, and the old advice is that you should imagine the crowd in their underwear, right? And that's one thing if it's happening in the safety of my imagination.
Have you been to South by before?
But I think it's a different kettle of fish if we're able to pop on a pair of glasses where AI allows me to actually visualize all of you as if you're in your underwear. And it's not sci-fi anymore. Just a few weeks ago, the chubby filter on TikTok, did anybody see the news reports about the It's one of many filters, and it allowed you to view a bigger, larger version of yourself. It was taken down very quickly because obviously it has serious body shaming implications. There's loads of imitators back on the platform now. But that had obvious harmful implications, even with people just using it on themselves. And what we want to talk about today is what happens when augmented reality glasses combined with AI allow people to wear that filter on their face and walk down the street, applying filters to other people's bodies, maybe without them even being aware of it. Now, not just when they're holding up a phone, but looking through it all day, because we know now that Meta and Snap and Google and, yes, Apple are pouring billions into glasses technology that can superimpose graphics into real space. But now we have to ask ourselves, so what happens if you're having a conversation with someone and you can't tell if they're looking at your real self or if they're looking at an augmented version of you that looks like an orc or a demon, or maybe even superimposes an AI nude onto your body in augmented reality. Decades of green screen have resulted in AI that's really good at scanning and then reskinning the human body. What happens when that technology starts to live inside of a pair of glasses? It's a big deal. I've devoted my professional career to augmented reality storytelling. I literally wrote the book on augmented reality storytelling. But I find that now I can't talk about the amazing storytelling potential of this technology without talking about the ethical worries and the dystopian implications of some of this stuff, and the fact that without some kind of best practice or regulation, it's young and vulnerable people who may get hurt first, and they may not be able to opt out, because if you're the owner of a human body and you take it out on the street, other people may be able to augment it whether or not you're wearing glasses. It's a big deal, but luckily, I have an amazing panel here with me.
We can go now, Rob. That was really good.
So that's it. That's quite enough out of me. So we have KELSEY FARISH. She is a London-based media lawyer who supports creatives of all types, as well as the tech and the creative companies that those creatives work with, the entertainment companies as well. She specializes in publicity and privacy and intellectual property, and she's internationally recognized as a leading legal expert in AI. And she's been advising on digital replicas, deepfakes, and voice cloning for the last 6 years. OG, hell yes. And we have KULHAN, a Chief Innovation Officer. She's an Executive XR producer, and she leads the world's largest media innovation R&D program through the IBC accelerators. So she's constantly got her eye on exactly what we're talking about today. She's also my EP colleague for augmented reality LBE activations as part of Playlines. So we've been in the trenches seeing this technological change happen in real time. And she's also the Women in Immersive Tech UK ambassador. If you're going to the Women in Immersive Tech event this evening,
it's going to be a party.
If not, why not? Come and grab us afterwards. And this is too long a conversation for the time that we've got. So bottom line, please do come and grab us afterwards, because today is about trying to start a conversation. So I want to hand over to you two, and I want to find out, first off, because we are all evangelists for this technology.
Are we?
Super enthusiastic. Well, I am, but I'm worried, enthusiasm, worry. I want to hear from you some best case scenarios. What are some uses of augmented reality glasses powered by AI that you're really excited about? And then I want to hear some worst case scenarios.
Okay, I'm going to go first because I know then the lawyer can correct me, or we can counterbalance that. Sorry, Kelsey, I'm never. Okay, so we had a good think about this, guys, and I constantly am thinking of production, creative production. The spine of my experiences in the music industry, I'm XMTV, BBC, sport industry, Red Bull, et cetera, et cetera. So when I'm kind of deep diving into a lot of the development that I've been working on, especially the last 6 years ago through IBC, and we're working with major broadcasters, huge vendors, huge suppliers. When you ask me this question, of course, I'm like a happy glass half full kind of girl, if anyone knows me here. I'm thinking of a hyper-personalization fan experience. So this piece of hardware, it is hardware, it's glasses, it's a fucking hardware, Rob. There's product design engineers in the room. I know, I want to characterize. So I'm imagining fans experiencing it. I thought of about 500 use cases, but my favorite one I wanted to talk about today is a fan, say, at your concert, in a stadium, at a festival, you throw on your shades, whatever frames that you have, and the augmented layers could enhance your experience with the artist, and maybe the lyrics could pop up, or a design that you've picked out, or rechange the clothing, and then that content can be used, say, within somebody's own account or something. So this is like a little bit fantasy dreaming, but a little bit fantasy dreaming.
No, that's the point. Like
yeah, and counterbalance with sports activations, which I'm working really closely with Verizon at the moment, and AMD and HP. On some activations in stadium. So if you're watching your favorite team or individual sport, whatever, you'll be able to cast your eyes, see some instant stats, because sports is a stat industry, as we know, some information about the athlete, and that can go into your personalized account or bucket, like a scrapbook or fan book.
Those overlays can be really powerful for that kind of contextual stuff.
Yeah.
What about a worst case scenario? What are you scared about with this technology?
It doesn't work. Fuck it. We don't want it. No, you know what? There's evil douchebags everywhere in the world, and they breed evil douchebags. And so any opportunity for a software, hardware, or new tech or anything to come out, it will get in the hands of the wrong people. Content will be created completely inappropriately manipulated. IP will be stolen. IP is being stolen right now. We could deep dive a whole nother panel into that. And again, the work that I have currently on at the moment is around identity protection, especially with high-level talent in the music and sport world. Getting into the wrong hands and being manipulated. And I also feel protective of any, under 15s and what do you do as a parent? I don't have kids, but I have wonderful nieces and nephews and friends with kids, and I'm like, oh my God, what do you do?
Yeah.
How do you protect it too? So I think that's quite a really dark level of a wrong use case, but that is kind of the ultimate fear, I think, with
Kelsey.
people.
Sure. So as a lawyer who specializes in publicity and reputation, it's all about empowering my clients to do what they feel comfortable with and to get the best deal possible, right? So if I have a client who, say, wants to digitally clone themselves for a new film, I'm not going to sit here and say, well, that's right or that's wrong. But rather, how do you feel as a performer, as a creative in that space? And one of the things that I find most incredible is this ability to kind of control your own narrative. So when we were making our way in this morning, I jokingly WhatsApped these guys and I said, oh gosh, I wish the audience had some glasses so that I don't have to go get my hair and makeup done at the Truman Brewery, right? And it was a joke, but I mean, if you think about that as a layered response, it frees up my time. I don't have to go get my makeup done. I maybe feel more comfortable in my own skin. I'm not worried about what you guys will think of me. Do I look like a lawyer? Do I not? So there are a lot of really empowering use cases for controlling your own narrative. And that doesn't just apply to AI, it applies to social media and narrative storytelling, either fiction or nonfiction. We see it in the news all the time as well. Worst case scenario, well, MUKI, you really hit it on the head. It's what happens when this tech gets into the wrong hands. And for me, as someone who's advised people who've unfortunately been victims of intimate image-based abuse, there's a lot that can go wrong.
Yeah. I mean, I'm with you on that one because, like, if the dream is that it's a permissioned system where a handshake happens within the device. So if you're wearing a pair of glasses and I'm able to project a version of my identity that I've chosen, that I've customized, like a video game avatar, and I know that's what you're going to see, that's a fantastic system because it unlocks all kinds of different approaches to identity presentation, to personal fashion presentation, to identity expression, amazing, and say nothing of video games. That's where I come from. But without that device handshake, I might just be out on the street, not even aware that you're augmenting me through your glasses. So the best case is also potentially this worst case because AR just detects physical surfaces and puts graphics onto them. And it doesn't actually require a two-way device communication. So people who can't afford the technology in the first place might be the people who are getting augmented without even being aware, maybe being erased, maybe being exploited, or maybe just being depicted as NPCs or video game objects. So the question, and the reason I'm really glad we have Kelsey is because
Should I go?
We're coming to you, mate. No, we want to get into hardware. That's the tricky part. But in the meantime, what does the law currently say about how much right we have to augment the world or to see the world the way we want to see it? And can it protect us and give us protections from being augmented in turn?
Oh, that's a really good question. The answer to that is it depends. So we know, for example, that if someone says something that's untrue about us and it's malicious and it causes us some harm, we can sue them for something like defamation. Or if they interfere with our business relationships and they try to harm our commercial interests, we can sue them for what's known as like tortious interference with commercial contracts. What we have with this augmented reality harm that can happen remains to be seen. The law doesn't punish people for thinking certain things, right? That's way too difficult. If I'm sitting here and I've got some friendly faces in the audience, if I think something about Alexandra who's sitting here in the front row, the law isn't going to come after me. My question as a lawyer is, well, if I'm having a piece of technology help me think something, but it's not published, it's not shared with anyone else, do I really want to live in an environment or a world or a society in which I have like the gatekeepers who are preventing me from thinking a certain way? That's a hypothetical, rhetorical question. I will also say, and here it is, the controversial thing from me, the law isn't shaped by ethics. Newsflash. It's shaped by people with money, and it's shaped by people in power. And I don't think it takes a rocket scientist to realize that the people that we're giving a lot of power to, especially on the other side of the Atlantic where I'm originally from, they have an interest in making sure that this space remains unregulated. For example, fun fact, I've been throwing it around a lot today, there's no, the use of the word privacy doesn't appear in the US Constitution, right? It's very different depending on where you are. So.
What 17 old white men in 1776 didn't think about.
Well, quite. Yeah, I mean, it's a privilege to be able to be in a position to say,
Yeah.
actually, I control my own self. And I control what I want people to know or not know about me.
Yeah.
And a lot of that comes out of conflict and
Yeah.
technological change. I mean, we know, for example, that copyright was born because of the printing press, right? This new technology. I mean, it wasn't always the case that photography was protected by copyright. It took
Yeah.
a lawsuit in order for that to happen. So watch this space, but yes, it depends.
But it could be privacies baked into the hardware releases. To, you know, again, I know some product engineers in the room that we talk about this, like wearables and hardware and things all the time. So it could be, you know, that case of you need a driver's license to drive a car. Perhaps you need certain qualifications to own or privileges to own a pair of glasses, whereby you meet certain criteria and the standards and you adhere to the code of conduct and the privacy, or else then you're breaking the law. So this is my little dream team scenario to protect fans, to protect artists. You know, can privacy come with the device one day? I believe it can. Together we can make it happen.
I think that's right, but just the example that we've thrown around, like how many of you guys have been on holiday into a lovely, you know, city break somewhere in Europe?
Oh yes,
And
I love
yeah, and you whip out your camera and you take a picture of like this bustling, you know, street scene in Berlin, and you get a few people in the background. Are you then going to call up a lawyer like me and say, I need some content releases for every single person who's in this photo before I post it on Instagram? No, of course you're not. Do we really want to live in a world that's overregulated? And again, this is the constant like play out of the playbook of these tech bros, which is let's let creators be creators, let's let people live their own lives. And I think there's definitely a balance. There's a balance between allowing people to create beautiful worlds like Rob does and like MUKI does and create these beautiful augmented worlds, but we can do it with some guardrails in place.
Yeah.
John Hanke, the CEO of Niantic, who make Pokemon Go, he's said that if you want to be able to see the world, to theme the world, as he calls it, like it's Super Mario and it's shiny and happy everywhere, then you should have the right to do so, a consumer right, because people shouldn't have the right to decide what you put into your eyes or your ears or your body. But the conflict for me is coming when we think about other people's bodies in that space that's being augmented. Because if you have the right to look at a park bench and see it as a piece of Super Mario Land furniture, fantastic.
They're
being
always
surveilled.
Yeah.
But
Rule number one.
That's one thing if it's an object on the street. But if you're walking down the street and your system is able to take another person walking down the street and reskin them as if they're a Koopa Trooper or an enemy from the video game that you're participating in, without their permission, without their knowledge, suddenly this is a big deal, right?
And that when you're, I'm just jumping in, that feels weird, right? To know that like your body, your voice could be augmented without your control, your creative control, your autonomy, your approval, your consent. It always shocks people when I tell them that there's no inherent copyright in an image of yourself. If I take a picture of my friend Izzy, who's here, does she own that image that I took? No, she doesn't. She's the subject of the photograph, but I own the copyright. And this really stresses people out, especially the influencers that I advise, because they think, well, that's not fair. I own my own image. And I sit back and I crack my knuckles and I say, yeah, but you actually don't. Because we need to be able to allow the creators to control and license the stuff. That's why when you see a film with an actor, that actor has assigned copyright, they've assigned personality rights, publicity rights to the studios. So again, there's a trajectory of current IP law, current publicity law. Do we need something else? Do we need a new brand of law?
Yes, yes, because this is where you've seen things completely morph and ebb in the trajectory from even a few years ago in the SAG-AFTRA strikes and images, and like this is the argument, but that's my face. I own that image. Why is somebody else making money off of my likeness and image? So it's called, if you're not aware of it, then NILV. So NILV, you're going to see this in loads of articles popping up. You might have seen the last couple of years. Name, image, likeness, and voice. And this is the red hot topic of talent wanting to protect and consent and get compensation.
Yeah.
For that, and
then give them the choice. Give them the choice.
100%, because then that's the consent part.
Yeah,
so they can opt in, can I license my NILV? And even data sets count as that now, which, like creating the data set, say from an FXB file, you're going to a volumetric scan, motion capture scan, and being able to protect that is completely, like so super duper important. And from the broadcasters that I work with, if anyone works in media production, you might have heard of C2PA.
Yep.
So there's content protection organizations that have formed that have about 35 major broadcasters from around the world, led kind of a little bit from BBC Origin project from about 5-6 years ago. But that's a moving image. And so new laws will be put into place soon. I can feel it coming just from a production point of view to protect the NILV of an individual.
Can I
and
ask?
I think that's where I didn't mean to say it like a question. They will be coming to
Yeah.
protect the NILV of an individual.
Can I do a flash poll, Rob? Is that
Yeah,
okay?
no, please.
How would
And
you
flash dance.
Yeah, not quite. How would you guys feel? This is, you don't have to raise your hand. I'm just wondering. Actually, do raise your hand because I'm
Yes.
curious to know if someone could reskin you, but you didn't know about it. Would you have a problem with that? Yes, you'd have a problem
hand
with
up.
it.
Hell
Yes, you'd have a problem
This is
with
what
it.
we're looking for.
Okay.
Oh, a couple hands down.
You'd have a
no.
problem with it. Okay. Second question.
Couple people don't mind.
What if someone reskinned you, you didn't know about it, but it made your relationship with them so much better? For example, let's say hypothetically, I hate people, or I don't like
I hate people too.
I hate associating with people who wear glasses, okay? And now I can see you as not wearing glasses, and suddenly you and I form a connection. Suddenly I give you a new job opportunity. Now I listen to you because you're not wearing glasses.
But are you wearing the glasses to see he doesn't have glasses?
Bad example on my part.
Okay.
This is why you're the storyteller. But it opens up a whole world of possibility. Is this means to the end justified?
Yeah. I think it's a really good example because if you have, for example, a trauma which makes it difficult for you to navigate the real world, and you are able to have glasses which protect you from seeing spiders or something that is going to trigger that trauma, that is an incredibly powerful tool for people to use. That is reskinning the world in a way that could be incredibly productive. If you have something which means that you can't connect with people, as Kelsey's saying, and maybe you know that you wouldn't treat them fairly, and then this is a system of flattening that out and allowing you to get over your fear of red-headed people, and that way you're able to treat people fairly. Fantastic. But what if you are able to detect, somebody's ethnicity and be able to alter the way that they appear in order to
Or the way that
relate
you
to
think
them
about
differently?
them.
Well, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you may have seen that Ray-Ban's Meta glasses, which don't even have any augmented reality in them, they are fully
Yet.
able, 2 Harvard students were able to hack them to be able to dox people on site using facial recognition. So you get feedback in your ear about the identity of the person that you're looking at. What if you can pop a data card above somebody's head that appears in augmented reality that shows you their likely voting preference? You're going to change how you relate to the world around you. The question becomes, okay, so what can we do to put pressure on hardware manufacturers to implement some kind of protections in an environment where, as Kelsey says, they're not motivated to regulate right now, like from a hardware technologist perspective?
Well, that's a great question, Rob. Ultimately, if major corporations sit up, get their head out of their butts, and make some good policy and good conduct and be thinking about the actual user for a change, I think that's where things could come into play. I'm a huge fan of KIT and the hardware and the new gadgets and the shiny toys, and you know that, and anyone in here knows that I'm a super nerd about all that kind of stuff. But there could be a place from the point of the engineers starting to develop these things, product design, products, that roadmap of can that privacy be baked into the hardware? So maybe even they get zapped or something if it is like an offender, and it
Oh, no, now
erases
we're in
all their
tort.
memory.
Now we're
Well,
in tort
this is
law.
a fictional. This topic is all like very. This is the buzz on the circuit. This is like a little bit of a Black Mirror episode.
Yeah.
We're dreaming. We're kind of thinking of what could happen. So right now we could kind of talk about anything. There's no wrong answers, obviously. But okay, the hardware manufacturers, can they take some responsibility? Can they also help lobby government to help maybe implement some laws? But maybe In the States, it's so much harder. I've lived here 25 years. Europe has a much better example. But could it be a state by state or country by country? Could it be hardware by hardware? But in parallel, like anyone that's software, experience design, even the broadcasts have to it's a whole ecosystem and a chain that should be cooperating. But back to the hardware element to it, perhaps there could be, it's attached to your account. A lot of these hardwares are, even your Quest or your other HMDs, and it could be like if you have a lifetime ban or you've been kicked out, then you're not allowed to purchase one. So just like if you have a driver's license ban, I'm going back to the car thing, very, very simple. Are you allowed to buy a car if you've been in jail with DUIs and you don't have a driver's license? I don't actually know that. I just thought of that just now. But, could it be...
But who guards the guardians?
Well, yeah, but that's the thing.
Well, each hardware manufacturer could lay down those...
But will they?
I would like to challenge anyone here working in hardware. Come talk to me.
It's tricky because even if with the best will in the world...
And wearables, by the way.
Oh, yeah. But even with like an enlightened approach to moderation, it's tricky because context becomes really important. You could create like an X symbol in augmented reality and put it on the store, and that doesn't appear to be offensive at all. But if someone implements a script that allows that X to be superimposed over the face of certain people based on some kind of demographic judgment that their camera, their wearable is making, then suddenly in context, that content is being used in a potentially harmful way. There's one hardware idea that I want to float, which is, we've been talking about privacy, right? So we've been able to make it clear that because people don't want to be photographed without their permission, that if you're wearing a pair of glasses with an always-on camera, that there is now there's required to be a light which says my camera is on. What if there was also another light which said, also, I'm augmenting reality right now. So when I'm seeing you, I'm not necessarily looking at your real body. You're not necessarily broadcasting what you're seeing, but you would at least be able to see at a glance that someone looking at your body isn't looking at your real body. They could be looking at
And what would you want
demon
somebody
you.
to do to you?
I mean,
risk.
I'm trying to achieve the minimum here.
Yeah.
We can talk about what it would take to really meaningfully have a digital handshake so that you're aware of how you're being augmented. But that, I think, is going to be a really hard sell.
Can I think of another positive thing? 2 other positive things. I think that's where maybe if you have those glasses and you do go into a crowd, if you want to protect your family or something, you might know if there's a dangerous situation or something. But you as an experienced designer working in immersive theater, especially, I could see those kind of tools being used for more interactive entertainment. I just flipped it on something kind of a cool thing. But
and again, I'm so positive about so much of this stuff, but I feel incumbent to not look back in a few years' time and realize I was part of the problem. Bottom line, what can we actually do about this now? What do you suggest if we've changed any minds or spooked people in the audience? What can we actually do about it?
They've all left in the glasses I'm looking at.
I mean, you might have been watching anything inside your glasses. I'm going to give one, which is look out for the XRSI, XR Safety Initiative. Their Framework 2.0 is coming out next week, next Monday, which is a opt-in code of conduct for XR companies, which is starting to think about some of these issues. The EU is a good place to be approaching these issues since meaningful regulation has happened there, so XRSI EU. If you want a solid example of what we're talking about, Google Snap's World Skins project to see how a text prompt can reskin the world. That's it from me. What can we do about this?
I had some extra time there, so I'm gonna pass.
I was speaking to a reporter yesterday about, I own a pair of those Meta sunglasses, and I was telling her how I blogged about how great it is to be out in the world and take a little picture, without looking like an idiotic tourist. And I said to her, I wrote this code of conduct for myself on my blog, and then she started laughing. She goes, "Of course you did, because you're a lawyer. Of course you wrote a code of conduct for yourself." But one of the key things that I said in that blog post was, do a vibe check. I think so many people are running around or imagining these dystopian futures or indeed these incredibly idealistic fantasy worlds, and they're not pausing to just take a few moments to say, actually, what does this mean to me? I'm not looking for 10 pages of fine print, but ask yourself, how would you feel? Like I did a few moments ago, how would you feel if people were able to reskin you, but you didn't know about it? And use that to kind of be a guiding principle for how you interact with the technology. And if you're in doubt, talk to a lawyer. We're not all scary, and some of us actually do know the tech, and we do know the creative and media industries. So always really happy to chat to people about it.
Yeah, and what if venues, even Rich Mix or someone that can detect if someone's using, if these glasses do ultimately end up starting doing, tech for harm, that perhaps there'll be systems in place like you would go through a metal detector.
Yeah.
And maybe that could be, I'm just like,
No, I mean, imagine if you are
thinking
like
what could happen? How do we protect ourselves?
If you're viewing the world at like it's Nintendo, you have an expectation
Yeah.
of privacy that's inside your glasses, right? If you're suddenly exposed that that's the way that you're choosing to see the world, you might be really embarrassed. But if you're choosing to see the world with some homebrew script that lets you undress people and see an imagined AI nude of them, especially if they're minors, then I think those people who that's being done to have some right to not be reskinned. We've got to balance this consumer issue of right to reskin. And again, like, these products are so exciting and they're going to help so many people. But how do we actually enforce this right to not be reskinned?
We fought for right to repair once. Now it's right to reskin, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. I
But
think,
also right to project the identity you want.
How great is it, though, that we've got an audience on like a rainy Thursday morning?
Yes.
People are interested.
Culture, music.
Talk to people about it, honestly.
Yeah.
This is
Yeah.
the real stuff, and
Yeah.
it matters not just for today, not just for tomorrow, but in the years to come. I know that sounds a bit melodramatic, but the reality is we do, I believe, have some power to shape the future.
Yeah. We can meet a year from now, everyone in this room, and we'll lock the door so no one else is allowed in, and then we can.
And we want to hear from you. Like, if we've changed your mind or if you disagree, come and grab us afterwards. I'm afraid we don't have time for Q&A, but please do come and grab us afterwards because we are done. Thank you so much for coming.
And scene.
And scene. Hey, thank you for coming. Have a good South by.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.